Hello, everyone. This is Jamie Marboe Nichols, and I am the host of the Heart of Dentistry podcast, where we take the ache out and put the heart back in to our dental profession. Please join me as I interview various guests who have opinions and also solutions to what is going on in our profession and helping us put the heart back in. Hi, everyone. This is Jamie Marboe Nichols, and I am with the Heart of Dentistry podcast, where our guests try to help us with the ache and taking it out and putting the heart back into our profession. And I have a very special guest. They're all special to me, but I love this man. This is Clay Shubin, and he's coming to us from Lehigh. No, what part of Utah are you in?
We're just tucked up in the corner of the mountain near Lehigh in Alpine, Utah.
Alpine. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So we've known each other for about a decade now, and it all started back with when you were with Dental Intel, and you're one of the founders and people that first started it up from the roots up, and we just hit it off really well. We've done some vacationing together, and I love your wife, Kelly, and we just really
Thanks.
great. So thank you for joining me. And Clay, tell us a little bit about you. Give us the background, the Digest version of how you came into dentistry.
Well, I mean, it just goes back to being able to be around amazing people. And from being around those amazing people, I was able to engage in some pretty meaningful things that really touched my heart, and inspired us along the way. So, and that really was for me what brought me into dental intelligence was the people, the vision,
Mhm.
and the inspired vision around what they were going to do. Not simply a business opportunity, but an opportunity to choose life, to change lives.
Yeah, yeah, and it really has. I know as a coach, it has really changed my life. It's something that I don't even know how I did the first half of my career as a coach without it, to be honest with you. It gives me so many tools and new coaching abilities just based on what it supplies us. You're not a dentist. You don't have really any experience as far as clinical skills go with dentistry, right?
I don't have that level of clinical intelligence, right? Or skill.
Mhm.
I think, my desire is to help them be successful and to meet their goals and to be happy in what they're doing and to help their teams be happy and their patients be happy. And that really just drove what we did.
Yeah. So tell me, kind of take us back to how long has DI been around, and kind of take us back into the brainchild behind it. And then let's move forward with where the ache is and where
Yeah.
you find yourself in this profession helping us
Yeah.
take the ache out and put the heart back in. So take us back to the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, dental intelligence started back in the days of Lunsford Peck. You had, Weston Lunsford, Shaylin Peck, and Rob Bay was involved as well, and they serviced a lot of dentists in that accounting firm. And as they did the financials, they started identifying that boy, these dentists and dental teams really need some additional help there because they're professionals in providing dental care, but as far as running the business effectively and healthily, there was some additional needs there. So they put their heads together and decided that, oh boy, we have an opportunity to really help people here and do something outside of what we're already doing. And at that point, they brought in Kelly Law and Mike Conway to help create a physical product. Curtis Marshall was there. Chris Toyne, came in as an analyst. Manually updating data, right, receiving reports and putting it into spreadsheets and then creating some visibility
Wow.
around that. So
A
there's a
lot
lot
of
of manual
hours.
stuff. Yeah. But it was really driven by the passion of being able to do something meaningful for these
Mhm.
these people.
Yeah. I know one of the aches I see with my clients is the practice owner really he or she just wants to do dentistry. That's all they want. And a lot of the heavy lifting with numbers and reports was put on the shoulders of the business team members or the office manager. And lots of times they're just kind of doing the best they can with what they've been taught or what they've been given. And there's a lot of great diamonds in the rough that are out there that did it well before DI came around and did a good job at it. But when it came to the simplicity and really trusting your numbers, I think that's, a big ache that still plagues, I think, a lot of our business and practice owners.
Yeah, that's it. That was one of our largest challenges back then, Jamie. Looking at data, people just didn't embrace it. That wasn't something that was really part of dentistry. And as we tried to introduce it into dentistry, we really had to break through some big, thick brick walls because people saw data as a threat to their job or a threat to how their performance was seen, versus seeing it as an opportunity to receive praise for the efforts that they're making, identify areas where that they can continue to provide even better patient care and facilitating that care through tools and things like that. But I think it's coming along. I think that's coming along.
Oh,
And
no doubt.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that, and still one of the aches I see is a lot of times they'll say, DI isn't working. It's not telling it. My practice software, tells me these numbers. And it's they're not matching. Why aren't they matching? And I used to be a dental software trainer, and so I kind of already know, you know. And I was like, well, we need to check within your own practice management software how
Yeah.
you're implementing, how you're putting things in there. Now, it's not to say there aren't glitches in on either side, but what would you say if the um, true numbers, the true reporting data that comes out of it, what percentage of that, if the people have really got the nuts and bolts of their own practice management software correctly done, because it's of course garbage in, garbage out, what would you say is the accuracy of dental intel and or their
Well, I mean, it over the last, now 10 years, there's been constant changes to these platforms and how they store, how they treat the data. Every platform does it in a different way. So there's constant updating of how the data is pulled and how it's processed. But at the end of the day, even when there's small variances, because data might be entered on the practice level differently than it's being read on the tools level, we just want to make sure that we're able to help that team be more efficient and provide better patient care. So, even with those little variances, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when there's so much good you can do and celebrating the performance of the team, even though there is some small variance somewhere, or being able to engage your dentist on the patients that day during those open hours on the type of treatment they're looking to provide or somebody who's available for a certain type of treatment. There's just so many tools there that even though there might be some what you feel are discrepancies, and we can always go look at the data and say, well, listen, here's the data, right?
yeah.
But it's not about debating the data. It's about what can this do for you and your team, irrelevant of what you may feel are small discrepancies.
Hmm. Yeah, and I agree with that, and I like that, and that's especially the analogy I use it all the time. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. And it's
Yeah.
funny because now there's people who've never heard that. They're all, in their 30s, some of them, and I'm like, you haven't ever heard of that? They're like, no. I should be careful about not dating myself when it comes to, some of these old sayings and things like that. But to your case in point, it's like don't get stuck in the weeds.
Yeah.
Let's look at the bigger picture. I had a client that when they saw X amount of patients on, say yesterday, and in their morning huddle, it gave a different number of the patients that they actually saw. And so we uncovered, I said, did you walk out any services on those three patients that it's off? And they're looking at it, they're like, no, we didn't walk out any services. And I said, well, that might be a part of the problem. I don't really know, but here's the numbers. Here's what you guys produced and here's what you collected.
Yeah.
Whether that was on 17 patients or 27 patients, here, let's focus on this, right?
That's
So
right.
people do get caught in some of that. And I think there's a lot of us in the dental profession, and I can say this because I've been in it ever since I was 17 years old. So it's just been a few years. But I think that we're kind of a type A personality, and we want to find something wrong instead of, and maybe it's just society, but instead of
Yeah.
finding the bigger picture, the rainbow that there is. Tell me some of the other pains that you see practice owners going through, like some specific ones within, whether it's within in analytics, or whether it's something else. What's something else that you
Oh,
find?
I mean, I think one of the pains that almost all practices are feeling today, except for, cash-based practices, but reimbursements continue to decrease. So they have, every year for the past decade, and they continue to decrease. So, that's constricting the available profit margin to sustain that business. And at the same time, it's just harder to have that healthy financial practice. 40 years ago, you could be, finish your dental school, go out, hang a shingle, and have an amazing business because it just functioned on itself because of the way the dynamics of dentistry worked back then. You didn't even have to think about the business. All you had to do was worry about patient care, and the rest kind of took care of itself. Whereas today, those dynamics are changing where costs are increasing on
Mhm.
everything
Yeah.
and the reimbursements are decreasing. And so now, nobody's really received any business training through dental school. You do have some that did take some separate business education, but most don't. I mean, they're surgeons, they're caregivers, and that's not their area of focus, nor should it be. I really want an amazing surgeon, not the best business person, helping me with my oral care. But at the same time, I want to have support for that surgeon, that caregiver, so that they can have an ongoing viable business that supports, them, their team, and able to continue providing that care.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really valid point, and I think that if, we used to have to just trust that the spreadsheet was correct with whatever whoever put the numbers in, right, based on their practice management. And I think that the doctors would scrutinize over that, and now they can actually go home and get on their computer and see where things are at, and it really doesn't take somebody being it isn't rocket science to utilize these analytics. I really find them, for even me and some people that weren't raised with computers and stuff, and they had to do it the old fashioned way. I think they're finding it very valuable. And when you can save time on the business end, you can actually spend more time on taking care of your patients. So I think that's
Yeah,
another big caveat.
yeah. And another pain that I see, which is it's funny, but it's sad at the same time. These dentists, Lord love them, amazing people. They go to a conference. Every time they come back from a conference, they come back with a couple shiny pennies that they picked up at that conference. They give it to their office manager and say, "Let's go do this. Okay, make sure this happens." But you know what happens, right?
Hmm.
That office manager puts that shiny penny on the back shelf and says, "Okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing to help my team and help my patients," right? Because they're doing the best they can, let alone trying to implement all these new shiny penny, what they see as distractions. I think the pain point there is I love that we like to find new things at the moment. But sometimes maybe we should take a step back and think about, okay, what can this really do for my team? Before we start asking our team to then dedicate time to implement it and carry it forward. Because those office managers, after 5 years of conferences, they've got 50 different shiny pennies, and you're not going to carry forward all 50 shiny pennies, whatever that is. And I do think that there's things that the dentists learn in these conferences that if they're looking really hard and asking around, that they'll find that they can be of great benefit. There's a lot of new solutions out there that and resources and tools that can help these teams, be more efficient, make their
Yeah.
job easier, make it easier to provide even better patient care, and
Hmm.
whatnot. So I don't know.
Well, and
That's just
AI is
a
coming out with
nuance.
some the use of AI, instead of running from it, it's not going away. I think it is, I know, I don't think it is another added benefit. But again, it's all garbage in, garbage out, and you have to be careful with even some of those things. You have to really become knowledgeable. And I think
Yeah,
to your case in point about the shiny pennies, what I think happens is that the enthusiasm is in the room, and the knowledge and everything that's coming in, it's hard to replicate that
Yep.
that knowledge base and that
Yep.
enthusiasm to your team. So your team almost has to be there if you're going to want them to have some buy-in, and get
That's
them
right.
the tools on how to learn it. How, pay for a trainer to come in and train them on that new shiny penny, how to spend it properly and make it go as far as it can. So they don't want to just
Yeah.
put it back up on the shelf. So I think there's a responsibility,
That's right.
to the practice owners to do as much as they can to get the tools in the hands with the education that goes along
Yeah.
with it to their team members.
That's right.
Um, so so you have some you can be we can find you on LinkedIn, right? You're part of LinkedIn. So we're going to have that in the cliff notes, so to speak, when this is broadcast. But what's the best advice that you've ever been given by anyone, in or out of dentistry? I'm kind of throwing this at you, but what's the best advice that you've ever been given that you can share with our listeners?
Well, I mean, the best advice that I've learned is just focus on the why. We had a positioning statement, a dental intelligence, and a rally cry of changing lives. And every day we were sharing stories of how this analytical tool was actually changing lives of patients, team members, and doctors. Every day there was a new story, and it just kept everybody so inspired that we worked our butts off, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're inspired, you there's extra energy there. There's extra dedication, extra commitment there, extra passion there. And I think it's the same on the dental practice level where, if we all remember our why, which probably, I would hope that it's to provide the best patient care possible to change lives, right? Because these dentists, I one of the reasons I love dentistry is I don't think there's a more nobler medical profession out there because listen, these orthopedists can fix my leg and I can go run or mountain bike again or go skiing again, but for somebody who struggles with their smile and then comes out with a beautiful smile, it makes all the difference in the world about how that person feels about themselves and how other people feel about them. And now we're going changing lives,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So
And not
yeah,
just
it's
from a
just
self-esteem, not just from a self-esteem standpoint, but really truly
yeah.
from a medical standpoint. My whole logo is saving lives one mouth at a time because of what I believe
Yeah,
that we're an extension of the medical branch, and
yeah,
what we do or don't do does extend and or prolong
yeah,
and give quality to life. So
yeah,
I agree with that. I love it wholeheartedly. And people talk about burnout right now a lot in all professions, but let's just stick with ours. And they talk about burnout, but I think the easiest way to get burnt out is to stop learning, stop caring, and
yeah,
stop, and when you quit really truly coming to the office and getting up every day
yeah.
for the wrong reasons,
That's right.
it has to be for the right reasons. But, well,
We
Clay, thank you
sh
so much for,
we sh well, one more thing, a couple more
uh-huh.
things really quick.
Sure, go
I
ahead.
really think we should be sharing with the team these reminders, right? The reminders of why we're here, the reminders of the care that we're providing and the impact that that's providing. If team members, whether that's an assistant or a hygienist or front desk person, we have our weekly team meeting and we could share a couple examples of lives that have been changed that week, right? Results that we've seen that week to continue to inspire us. And then on the other part of that, we don't want to provide this care at the expense of the business because then the business isn't sustainable for the
Mhm.
team and to continue providing the care. So we've got to bring in the tools and the resources to help us on that business side, which doesn't is not just the team performance and patient care side like a dental intelligence that provides tools there, but you also have to be looking at the financials now with the cost compression that we're seeing in the market. And there's resources and tools to help you on that side. I know Dental Intel struggled in the beginning with that, and actually stepped away from the financial side of things, but there are tools and resources that help there as well. So that we
Yeah.
engage those tools and resources that exist so we can stick to our why, which is providing that patient care and then celebrating and finding reasons and examples to celebrate that patient care regularly.
I love that. It's funny, and thank you for stopping me and adding that, because it's interesting because we hadn't even talked about this, but I just recreated based on what you first started out with, is reminding the team of our why, and asking them if they're still passionate about why they're coming to work every day. But I created, a team job review questionnaire, and I've had a couple over the years of coaching for 16 years, but I started off with the doctor or office manager answering these statements to remind them why they have that team member on their team, and their questions like, what is this team member's top strengths that positively impact patient care or office flow? What is this
Mm,
team members, what do they contribute overall to the success of the practice? Because if you bring up the positive first, instead of remembering yesterday she showed up 5 minutes to morning
yeah,
huddle, and you go into this job review, when you fill this out and you look at the big picture of
yeah,
why you're glad they're a part of your team instead of the little things. And then you do have to, as a business, get to the areas that are needed to be improved. Sometimes we have to just have our, have that reminder as to why I hired this person in the first place, what they bring to the table,
yeah,
and where, if they faltered, what's going on. I need to talk to them as a human, as if they were my sister or my child or my partner, whatever it may be. So good stuff, Clay
yeah.
Shubin. And I'm going to want to have you back on here, sometime soon, and we'll talk. I know you got some things in the mix, and I can't wait to hear about them. And we will see if we can get you back on once that comes alive and
If
well.
we can pull out the guitar get together,
I
we'll do it.
know, right?
That's right.
Yeah. All my
All right.
bags are packed. I'm ready to.
I'm
Okay.
ready to go.
We'll
All
see you,
right.
everyone. Thank you for joining us on The Heart of Dentistry. We'll see you next time.
Thanks. See you later, Jamie.
The Heart of Dentistry podcast, where we take the ache out and put the heart back in to our dental profession.